I was 27 years old and I was like miserable. Just kept trying to figure out what my life was for. Two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you discover why. And at 27, I just hadn't figured out the why. And I walked into a comedy club October 8th, 1985. I won amateur night that night. I went to work the next day and quit my job. The day I quit, my boss, he talked me right out of it. He said, "Steve, you're not even funny." He said, "Are you kidding me? You've got a family. You put that stuff back on your desk, but don't you ever come in here again with something ridiculous. You're gonna be a comedian." Dude named Russell Middlebrooks came up to me and said, "Hey, Harv, I thought you was quitting today, man." I said, "Nah, I talked to Tom and he told me I wasn't funny." He said, "He don't know you. You the funniest dude I know." And then he looked at me, he was so hurt. He said, "Damn, dog, I told everybody you was leaving today." He said, "Man, I can't believe you letting that tell you what to do." And I took that box right back in there. I said, "Tom, I'm really funny. I'm gonna make it." He said, "I'll tell you what, you leave out this door, don't ever come back in here again." He said, "You're making a huge mistake leaving your family out like this." Probably about 20 years after that, he was at a show. And he said, "I came to the show, I saw this Steve Harvey." He said, "Oh my God, I always knew you were gonna make it." None of my family believed in me. The only family member I had that thought it was a good idea was my father. And he just said, "Son, if you think you can make it, get on out there and get discovered." My father was born in 1914. My grandfather was born into slavery. My grandfather was a slave till he was 12. And my dad was the only one who believed in me. Everybody else told me no. Laughed at me.
Not only is it possible for you to have your dream, but it's necessary that you have it, that you go for what is yours in the universe. I have a friend that I said, "I want you to work with me." I called her up. She said, "Les, are you sure I can do it?" "Sure you can. If I can do it, sure you can do it. In fact, I'm going to give you the support." So I was telling her that I knew she hated her job with a passion. See, a lot of people go to work every day miserable, and all they do is just talk about how miserable they are, but they don't do anything about it. And we've been going through this for years, ladies and gentlemen. She brought her husband, and that was one of the major problems that I realized. He couldn't see it for her. So you got to make sure that you have people in your life that can see it for you. So I said, but if you can't see it for her, don't tell her that. Just give her some support. What if you're wrong? You've seen her speak. She's got great speaking skills. You've got a great woman here. But you see, people who can't see it for themselves can't see it for you. So I said, "Will you do it with me?" I said, "I'm going to give you the support you need. You can't do it by yourself. I will stand with you." She said, "Okay." 3 days later, I got an emergency call at my office. It was from her husband. He called and said, "Tell Les Brown that Marion is dead." And I remember the last time that I saw her, and I had some of her papers. And what got me, what was so sad that made me begin to cry, was that there were poems that she had started that were profound poems, great thoughts, that she didn't complete. That poem was given to her. I can't finish that for her. That play, whatever the outcome that she had envisioned, was given to her. I believe all of us have some purpose for being here. And I was reading a newspaper that said that millions of people are dying because of what they're eating, talking about their diet. So that even more are dying because of what's eating them. You've got to find ways to increase your sense of self-appreciation, because if you don't, you will find yourself unconsciously engaged in self-destructive behavior. If you don't program yourself, life will program you. The major key to your reaching your dreams, your making your contribution, is you. When I wanted to get on public television, you know, they told me, you can't do that. Hold on, time out. Let's be realistic. I said, well, wait a minute. Why can't I do it? Well, let's look here. You don't have any college training. They're not going to give me a break. What people think about you and the possibilities for your dream is none of your business. They have no imagination, ladies and gentlemen. They're living out of the past, out of their memory. Their attitude is it can't be done because they haven't seen it. The people that are going to make it in the future, let me share something with you. History is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination. You look at your life, you look at what you produce. Are you doing all you can do? Have you gotten comfortable? Are you surrounding yourself with people that can nourish you? Are you learning something different? Is your life an adventure or is it boring? What decisions are you making right now as you look into the future? You don't want to ever put yourself in a situation where you have a limited vision and you're only using a limited amount of your talents and of your abilities. And I'm saying to you that it's necessary that you get outside of your comfort zone, that you do reading, that you do research. It's necessary that you don't be satisfied with where you are. If you want to make it today, it's necessary for you to constantly look at ways of getting better. This is not going to be it for my life. I deserve more than this.
It's easy to water down what God's promised us. I don't like this job, but at least I'm employed. I was believing for a nice house, but I guess this apartment will do. I guess I'm at least okay. No, okay is not who you were created to be. The enemy can't stop God's plan for your life, but he'll do his best to convince you to settle along the way. There has to be a holy determination. I refuse to settle for less than what God's promised me. You're not going to water it down. You're not going to let good enough be good enough. God doesn't abort a dream. He doesn't get talked out of what He's promised. Now, maybe the reason you're not seeing this favor is you've settled. As long as you think that way, it will limit your life. I'm asking you to pack up your belongings. Mediocrity is not your home. You may be there now, but that is not your permanent location. Don't settle for an okay marriage, okay life. Yes, we should be content, but you shouldn't be satisfied with less than what you know God put in your heart. I'll never reach my dreams, but hey, I'm doing as good as my coworker. That's not too bad. Why don't you leave the goal there and say, God, I don't see how this can work out. But God, I know you wouldn't have promised it if you weren't going to bring it to pass. So I'm not going to settle here. I'm going to keep believing. I'm going to keep stretching my faith. That's what allows God to do great things. Well, Joel, I can't think of any good reason to get my hopes up. Let me give you one great reason the Most High God is on your side. You wouldn't be hearing this if He wasn't about to do something unusual, something that you didn't see coming. People will scratch their heads. How did your business take off so fast? You didn't have the connections. No, but you have the favor of God. What He's promised you will come to pass. Not a good enough version. Get ready for the fullness of what God said. Don't reduce it to what makes sense to you. Don't let what you don't have talk you out of what God does have. God, this seems impossible to me, but I know you can do the impossible. You can take me where I can't go on my own. You may feel like your hands are tied. You've done your best, but it seems like you've reached your limits. The good news is God's hands are not tied. What's restricted you in the past has lost its grip. The sickness, the financial difficulties, the trouble at work, this is a new day. Now start seeing yourself free. See yourself rising to new levels, fulfilling your purpose. Your hands are not tied anymore.